Well, hello there everyone. So today I'm going to be showcasing on how I do normal maps and specular maps for weapons specifically. Well, just a preview, let's say it this way. This is an old texture of the AKS 74M, which has a plum detail instead of wood. It was quite of outdated, but as you can see, the bump maps worked pretty much well in the body of the AK. But right now I updated this version of the texture to this one, and I'm going to be showcasing on how I do the normal maps based on the RGB. Probably there might be a easier way of doing that, but the way I know is this one, manually doing it. So the first part will be making the normal map. We must understand that we must make the texture black and white. The white will be a high elevation information for the filter we are going to be applying, and black will mean it's below this 0, which means it's a very deep surface. So white is higher and black is deeper, basically. But if we apply right now the black and white filter, we are not going to have the results we want, because since this is the RGB, we are working with fake shadows and stuff like this. So I'm going to be showcasing what I do. So mainly understanding what we have here. This is the plum part. Everything besides this part, this and these, are metal. So what we're going to be doing, this was the base texture, the old version. This is the new one, and I am going to be selecting. We have the RGB. If we do not have the RGB, we can create manually like this. In Photoshop you can use a tool to create polygons like squares and polygons like this, and you can make manually these formats you want to be creating the height information. So basically, to make it a little bit more easier and take less time to do it, I have these guys available to making the bump map. So basically I copy all this information I created over the old texture, and I'm gonna be selecting the open file, let's say by this way. Let's see where it is. Okay, it's this one. So first of all, I want to be selecting all these structures here. Besides that, I'm gonna be applying a black and white filter like this, and now I'm gonna be applying a filter, it's called levels, and we're gonna be increasing the brightness along with some dark spots, which will increase the detail, the level of detail we have on our texture. Here we go. Reminding that white means it's higher and black means it's deeper. So we want this to have a really high contrast with the surface that is below. Let's see where this is. Nice. Now I'm going to be working in this lower part. I'm going to be also applying the black and white filter. And working with the brightness. Remember that this part here must be darker than this one, or it will not create contrast between these two structures. So let's increase, but not too much. Like, let's increase from this one. Okay, I think here's fine. Just a little bit more. Okay, this is something that you're going to be doing with using your eye. Basically, there's not a specific value for these colors, and when you apply the filter, you're gonna have a few options in order to make the effect look right. Now this is the rectangle. I'm not gonna be letting completely black, but at least dark gray, something like that. And there's a lot of different filter options we can apply here. This one is saturation. I'm going to be removing here the brightness of this surface, and this one I think it should be a little bit more brighter, so that's what I'm going to be doing. I have a level filter here which is applied strictly to this layer, and now I'm going to be creating to give it more brightness. I want real contrast with this because the main file itself, it's AK with a wood stock, and I don't want that. I want to have it a look of a polymer, so I'm going to be increasing both, in fact, just a little. Good enough. Okay, so this one is already done. Now we're going to be making to this part here. Nope, not that much. Here we go. I want the same config we got, so I'm going to be pressing Ctrl J. I'm going to be copying. I'm going to be moving towards this layer itself, applying the mask, and it's going to be rasterizing. I don't know if that's how it's pronounced in English, but basically I'm making the filter part of the layer. Okay, so this guy have the same info as this guy. I'm going to be making the same thing on this one. Nice. So we have information on these guys about height. Okay, so these details are already done, and now we gotta work on the magazine, doing the same process also with the metal parts. When I get to the metal parts, I'm going to be restarting the video. Okay, now I'm back and the process is done. Basically, some things to notice. First of all, as you can see, there are big parts in the weapon. In the texture you can recognize the parts of the weapon itself. And there are some small parts, some small details. These small details don't need to be rasterized, or they don't need to have as much attention as these bigger parts, because in the normal map they are not going to be mattering that much. So basically I did here to the body of the AK, and to the barrel itself, to the mag, and to the gun grip, and so on. This is the final result of the texture. But just to showcase how I do this process, I am going to be showing here one example. First of all, I set a gray value as my ground zero, which means that everything that is brighter than that is going to be positive, and everything that is darker than that is going to be negative. So 0 will be my flat surface. Imagine this in 3D, let's say. So let's just create here to have an idea. I pick it up the pen tool and come here creating like this. It's a job of patience, basically. Here I'm going to be removing I don't want it to be filled right now. And I'm doing this process because we are talking about a flat surface, basically, a metal surface. So it's not as rugged as a polymer, for example. Okay. You can ignore, for example, this sort of shading and fade out. Nice. So here we got our main polygon. I'm going to be picking up a gray tone here, let's say this one, and I'm going to be creating the other details, such as these. I don't know the name exactly of these, but these structures here. I'm going to be creating a rectangle. I picked up the tool to be making roundy rectangle, and I'm going to be painting it as white because I want a huge contrast over this surface and this one. So as you can see, I would go Ctrl J, for example, copy, and putting them over this structure. As you can see, there are some black spots. These black spots are not going to be made into the texture, so you can pretty much overwrite them with a polygon or something like this. It doesn't matter at all, these black spots here. And this would be the result you would get. And this is the result we get. So this would be my ground zero, this color of gray. It depends, as I've said, on the overhaul of the texture. The white is brighter, of course it's brighter, but it's higher, and this dark gray here is a little bit deeper. So I've done this to the big parts, and we're going to be creating right now the normal map. I'm going to be deleting these guys here. It's pretty much important that to create the normal map, you must have one layer. You must not have the layers separately. For example, this rectangle is a layer, this polygon is another layer, and so on. Everything must be matched together, and we must be working with 2K pixels of resolution. If you work with something higher than that, the COP SDK will not recognize. So basically that's it. So this is the main thing to create the normal map. Just to make sure, I'm going to be applying a black and white filter again. Okay. Rasterizing the style of the layer. I'm going to be going to filter, 3D, and manage normal map. And here we are. Okay, so this is the normal map. There are some things to notice. Since we are talking about a flat surface, let's say delicate surface, if you increase a lot the scale of details, some things might get too much ruggy, such as these small parts here. So since we are working with a weapon, I would say this value here would be nice, but as I said sometimes here in this video, it's important to know that every case is a case. It's something that you must take a look with your eye and see if it's okay or if it isn't. I would say that this result is fine. Another thing that you can do is to create contrast over the layers. Here you got what would be the low information, the deeper information, the medium information, and the higher information. As you can see, if you play with the values, it's going to be changing how the texture looks like. I would say that something like this, as it was already planned, it's fine, something like that. Okay, as you can see, it's very contrasting. You can also use the cube to see how it looks like. There are many filters you can apply here. I have some sort of difficulty into seeing these differences, but based on experiences that I had, I would say that this one looks fine. In fact, I would just hold up. Okay, I would say that this one is fine. Okay, now you got the filter applied, and you got your bump map, your normal map working. Now you go into File, Save As, and I'm gonna be saving as a TGA file, which we have here, SK normal map. Great. Yep. Override, and we got it done. Good. Now, this is basically for the bump map, and this is for our RGB map. Okay. now I'm going to be talking about the specular map. Specular map basically also works with black and white. The more white, the more brighter you have, the more reflective the surface will be, and darker, less reflective it will be. Also, it must be worked with 2K textures, and I'm going to be showcasing now exactly on how I do. Basically, I choose what isn't metal. So basically, we got only these surfaces here that aren't metal. So I'm going to be selecting them using the pen tool. It doesn't need to be exactly precise, just make sure you are getting the entire texture, the entire part of the texture itself. And let's get going. Okay, I don't want it filled. Opa. Okay. Now I'm going to be making a right click and create selection. Okay. And I'm going to be selecting the layer that I want to make a copy and Ctrl J. As you can see, I selected everything that is here. Nice. Now we're going to be selecting all these polygons, but I do believe that I got them already selected. Hold up. Yep, it's here. Oh, in fact, even the mag was here, but anyway. Alright. This is the mag that I just selected, this layer. This one is everything that I created now. The RGB, the new RGB texture. And below here we got the old texture. No, it isn't. It's already the new one. Alright. So basically what we're going to be doing is we are going to be applying different values of black and white, just like we have done with the normal map, but this one is a little bit more delicate. So we're going to be also applying again the color filter to creating a black and white texture, just to make sure I have a backup. Okay, I do. So this is going to be about the metal one, so I'm going to be increasing the brightness. About this is fine. Nice. And we got these guys that are polymer and the bake. I would say there's a bakelite or plum. I don't know exactly the material, but the reflection is very different from the metal one. So I'm going to be also applying the black and white filter. I would say that this color of gray would be interesting, but I'm going to be reducing just a little bit more because I want it to have a good contrast. I would say, okay, this is fine. Let's increase a little bit more. Okay, good enough. So this is the specular map. I would say that is one of the most simple processes in this one. As you have seen on the Ichikrow video, he uses desaturate and play with levels basically. But as for weapons, since we have composite materials, it's important to separate them and apply different color grading into them. Alright, so this is the specular map. I'm gonna be exporting just like we have done with the other texture as a TGA file. Instead of normal, I'm gonna be calling as spec. You can call however you want. It's just to do not get lost among a lot of textures here. Okay, I have everything here settled down. I'm going to be just saving. This is the old version, the old bump map basically, and I'm going to be closing here Photoshop. Alright, so basically right now we got the TGA file of spec and normal. You can open any of these two first. It doesn't have a specific order. And here is the RGB. Here's the RGB information. There are some other textures here that I must update, but it won't be now. Anyway, so here we are on GIMP. We got the normal map, and I'm going to be opening the specular map. So that process that we see each crowd doing, we already have done everything on Photoshop. Nothing to do with this texture here on GIMP. We're going to go on colors, components, decompose as RGB. Here it is. As you can see, every channel is some sort of lightning direction, and when we match everything, it will be a 3D texture. And here's the spec. We're going to be going to edit, copy, edit again, paste this layer, and here it is. It's basically oh shit, I'm going to be needing to reset the software that I record. Just a moment. Alright, so basically the software that I use does not allow me to move the layers meanwhile we are recording. So, well, this is the order we're going to be using. RGBA. From down to the top, make sure that you have red, green, blue, and the specular map, which is going to be our alpha channel. We're going to get now into colors, components, compose, and we're going to be composing an RGBA color model, which is RGBA. Okay, and okay. Now we have the green bump map. Go into files, export. First of all, we're going to be making a bump map as a TGA, so you can choose whatever name you want. I have chosen this one. I already have an old file, but it's basically the name of the texture underscore bump. So we're going to be creating a TGA file and export, replace, and good. Export it. Again, file, export. We're just going to be changing the extension to DDS. It will also ask if I replace, and yes, I will. And compression DXT5, which is going to be including our alpha channel. MIP maps, generate MIP maps, filter Kaiser, and export. Basically, every information we got from each Krause tutorial. We are loading. Just make sure we got a visual. This is the old bump map, and let's wait until image exported. Let's see here now. This is the new one. It is. Hold up. Nope. No, it is. Indeed, it is. As you can see, it has the details we have added to the magazine. Okay, so this is the new texture, and even with having some sort of organization, you can get really lost among a lot of textures. So anyway, now we're going to be getting these guys here, which is the bump map we just created and the normal map. We're going to be copying them. We're going to go into our Call of Pripyat SDK. Editors, first of all, I'm going to be just removing the weapon texture that I have here so we don't get lost again. Import. We put these two TGA files into editors, import folder. And now we're going to be opening the actor editor. Let me just close GIMP. Another thing that is quite important to mention is that every engine will gonna have different sort of shaders or reflection values. For example, even we adding this amount of reflection, you will notice that in Lost Alpha we will not have a result just like we have in Anomaly, for example, because there are differences in rendering on these engines. But anyway, I'm gonna click on image and check for new textures. We got these two new textures. First of all, we're gonna be checking the normal as normal. So in type, we're gonna be choosing normal map and OK. Let's just hold up. Done. And images again, image filter, double PN. Okay, where it is? This one. Yep, this one. These are basically ghost files from things that I already have done. I deleted, but they still here on the cache. And we're going to be creating as a bump map. Special normal map, we're going to be choosing the one we just installed. This one. Okay. And finally, okay. Press OK, and I'm going to be just waiting. Okay, now we go. We're going to get to game data, and now we're going to be just choosing textures. Double PN. This is the bump hashtag. We are not going to be using this texture because we already have a bump map that we exported strictly from GIMP. Where it is? Oh yeah. Here we are. Control V. Everything here is going to be replaced. So right now we're going to be choosing 6 files, basically RGB or bump map and everything besides that. So as you can see, we have 6 files selected. I'm going to be copying it, and I'm going to be adding to my Stalker directory, which is the Stalker Lost Alpha, which is the one I have installed here right now. Okay, I'm going to be having to overwrite these guys. We are back. We just fixed the name issue. So this is our new RGB file, and we have the bump hashtag, the bump map, and these files that I don't exactly know what they do, but I like to put them on the files too. And this file will not be created along with the SDK. So the process that I do, it's basically pick up this directory, open up the AXR toolset master launcher, go into THM viewer, THM editor. I add the directory here, all, and this is the file, the RGB file. Right click over it. The bump map, you write use, it's going to be written none, and here you're going to be putting the directory to the bump map, which is going to be double PN underscore AKS74 underscore bump. In this case, in other cases you're going to have different names, different directories. It's possible, but it's something that is kind of intuitive, so it won't be a huge issue. Okay, so now we got the new texture installed, and I'm going to be showcasing how it looks on the gameplay itself. Okay, so here we are in Lost Alpha. Basically I had to kill a lot of stalkers to get this weapon, but well, it's for a good cause. This is the AK now with the texture. This is how it used to look like. This is how it used to look like, and right now this is how it is. Let's compare it. As you can see, we had a wood here, and now we got polymer, and the bump maps work pretty much fine. This is a 2K texture, so I would say the details are not that big, but it does its job. Let me add some lightning so you can see the difference. Difference of the bakelite, the orange, and now the one we did, and the polymer. Let me check now on third person. Both will have the same texture, but just the third person is different. This one, we're going to be reloading just to take a look how it looks. Now with this one, I'm going to try to compare this texture with the texture we have seen from the beginning of the video. but we can see that the bump maps work pretty much fine with the lightning. As I've said, the reflection depends on the engine, but the bump map itself worked pretty much. Okay, the guys are trying to kill me because I kill a lot of stalkers in order to make this video anyway. Okay, let's make a comparison. But this is the last result. This is how it looks in game.